What's going on, Titan Nation? We're gonna go ahead and get this show started. Thank y'all for joining me. Sorry I'm a little late with this, but we definitely got to talk about this 23-16 loss the Titans suffered up in Indy against the Indianapolis Colts. So we're gonna definitely go into that, talk about why the Titans lost this game for all the wrong reasons, and definitely looking forward to that. As of course, the Titans get ready to take on the Baltimore Ravens in London. The Ravens are already in London. The Titans are not. So we're definitely going to speak about that. And we'll talk about that and a whole lot more right here on TNT Postgame. Let's do it.
Good evening, Titan Nation. How's everybody?
What's going on, Titan Nation? How's everybody doing? Welcome into TNT Post Game. I'm your man, Blue Enforcer, aka The Truth, and we're gonna have a very good episode. We're gonna try to get through this together and decompress what happened as the Tennessee Titans fall to the Indianapolis Colts 23-16. Definitely make sure y'all follow me on Facebook at TNT Enforcers, on Twitter X at TNT Blue Enforcer, and of course on Instagram at Titans_in_truth. Definitely make sure y'all follow me there. Super chats, of course, are appreciated as well. Everybody, definitely make sure y'all smash that like button and give me a like on this show. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And also hit ring that bell and hit all on your notifications so that way you know when I'm going live, and that way you could be a part of it as well. And thank you everybody for being here. And also make sure you follow on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, and Google Podcasts as well. That way, if you can't listen to anything, you go back and listen to it as well. But thank everybody for tuning in to the show. That's not what time to talk, because I know a lot of us really don't want, really, we don't want as the Titans fall in Indianapolis 23-16. This is a very tough loss. Just a second. Yes. And so, this is a very, very tough loss. 23-16, a game that they needed to win, a game they had to win. And the Tennessee Titans found a way to lose it, and they lost it in a lot of ways that they shouldn't have. They lost it for all the wrong reasons. And so, going back to my Blue Enforcer 4 points to victory was you had to keep the momentum going from last week. Obviously, that did not work because, again, this team was just being very inconsistent. And, they're very good at that. They are the most consistent inconsistent team in the NFL. It's always like this. It is never like this. It is never, it goes up and stays there. It is always up and down and up and down. And that just seems like it's just what it's going to be until something is changed. And we don't know if Mike Vrabel is even going to have the guts enough to make the changes necessary. But, as I always think, Mike Vrabel is the definition of insanity, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But they did not keep the momentum going at all. Started off a little sluggish, got a little bit better in the second quarter and things like that, but then the rest of the game just did not go well, particularly on the defensive side of the ball was where a lot of the problems came from, which was very surprising, especially given that where the problems happen was where the Titans are the strongest. And that leads to problem number 2. I said, let thunder and lightning flash. Lightning flashed a little bit with Tajay Spears as he got that 19-yard touchdown from the end around, which he showed flashes that he could be really, really good. But the rest of the way, just like Derrick Henry, he was pretty well contained as well. I mean, he got bottled up just as much as Derrick Henry did. And so, the Titans were definitely not very good in the running game whatsoever. They did not, they did not run the ball well at all, and that's where a lot of problems were caused. Where the offensive line did do some good in the passing game, but in the running game, I mean, you combine 20 carries, 20 carries for only 77 yards between the two of you. Not great. Derrick Henry only had 43 yards on 13 carries. Tajay Spears, 7 carries for 34 yards. And I mean, even though Tajay Spears had 4 catches, 35 yards, but on the ground, very, very subpar from the running game. But we did see DeAndre Hopkins have a hell of a game, 8 catches for 140 yards. And, it was always said a lot, the Colts are going to let you move from the 20 to the 20, but then when you get into the red zone, that's where the problems come. And that is exactly what happened. The Titans did not take advantage in the red zone when they had chances to punch in for touchdowns. Instead, they ended up getting field goals. And so that's something that, was definitely a detriment to the Tennessee Titans at the end of the day. The third thing, keep Anthony Richardson in the pocket. For the most part, they did a good job of that. Now, they didn't get a lot of pressure on him, and they didn't get any sacks except for Roger McCreary, who got the 1 sack, and that was mainly because when Anthony Richardson got in trouble, he just threw the ball behind the line of scrimmage out of bounds, and that's why it counted as a sack. It's just like if you run out of bounds if a quarterback runs out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage, it's basically a sack. And that's what happened there. But other than that, we really didn't get a lot of pressure on him. He dropped a couple of nice dimes in there, but he ended up getting hurt when Harold Landry tackled him when he was trying to get outside of the pocket, and that could have been possibly the worst thing that could have happened to the Titans, because in comes Gardner Minshew, who in the past has messed the Titans up a little bit. I mean, he knows Shane Steichen's offense very, very well, and I mean, he didn't really have to do much. All he did was 11 of 14, 155 yards, but he was very efficient in what he did. Josh Downs, 6 catches, 97 yards. And, it was just some efficiency there for the Indianapolis Colts. And that's why things went well for them in that instance, because Minshew didn't have no pressure put on him. I don't think he was even touched. I think he got hit maybe one time in that whole time he was in there. And that is to the detriment of one of our strengths, which is supposed to be our pass rush. And our pass rush was pretty non-existent from everybody. From, surprisingly from Danico Autry and Big Jeff. Now, I know Big Jeff kind of got hurt when I think they were trying to, him and Azeez Al-Shire were trying to make a tackle, and their shoulders collided, and Big Jeff got the worst of that. And, definitely haven't gotten an update on anything as far as what's going on with him. Hoping that he is not, injured fully, but we haven't really heard anything as far as that. So maybe no news is good news, I suppose, when it comes to that. And then last but not least, secure the tackle. And that's something we didn't do well either, because Zach Moss had himself a day. He had himself a whale of a day. I mean, you know, 23 carries, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the more embarrassing part of that is the run defense is supposed to be our greatest strength. We've been number one against the run for the last 2 years. And we allow our first one, this is the first time since week 1 of last year that somebody has rushed for 100 yards against us. And so, that's more than like 20 games that has happened. So the fact that this was happening against one of our biggest strengths is something that I found embarrassing. I found troubling. But I also do believe this was an anomaly. I don't think the run defense will ever look like this again, at least for quite some time, in my own opinion. Because the run defense is better than that. Now, one person that did piss me off the whole time was Azeez Al-Shire. Even though he had a lot of tackles, the problem was there were times he went for kill shots where he just goes in and bangs his shoulder, but he doesn't wrap up at all and allows a guy to bounce off of him and pick up a couple of extra yards. That was very frustrating to me. That is something that I didn't like. I didn't like the fact that we didn't wrap up. Gibby had his troubles because, he doesn't have the speed. He could definitely tackle. He could definitely help in the run game. But if you put him in the pass situation, which I think there was a time where he got burned. Not necessarily his fault. That's just bad call on the scheme with Shane Bowen. But you gotta know your personnel. And then, of course, we had the Christian Fulton problem. And Christian Fulton is becoming a major problem. Not just a problem, a liability. Because he just ain't got it. He just doesn't have it. And where I could tell he didn't have it was after the second pass interference call, which come to find out that was obviously legal. I'm like, how's that pass interference? The guy basically ran him over. How's that pass interference? That's actually legal. Still don't like it, but it's the fact that Christian Fulton has done more to hurt your football team than help. And so, benching Fulton might be the best thing for this team. Because right now, it ain't looking good in a contract year. Usually in a contract year, you try to show out because you want to get paid. Christian Fulton is showing I don't deserve to be on any team next year and could be on his way out of Nashville if he don't straighten up his act, which I honestly don't think he can. It's not that I don't think he can. I know he can't. I believe that. And I'm going to save this for a shut your pie hole. But Christian Fulton's dad needs to shut the hell up. I understand you defending your son. And I understand that. But that tells me that both of y'all are soft. And that look in his eye after that second pass interference penalty, I wish I could go back and get it. And I probably can for Wednesday's show. That look on his face after that penalty, it told me everything I needed to know. Because certain players just have that dog in them. Like, I'm going to make some plays. Christian Fulton ain't got that dog in him. He doesn't. I see it in his eyes. He's soft. He is soft. He doesn't have the speed. Obviously, he ain't healthy completely, maybe. And I think Vrabel is going to fall under the definition of insanity once again. He's just going to keep running Christian Fulton out there, just like he kept running Andre Dillard out there, just like he kept running Dennis Daly out there. Definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And he's just expecting, you know what? Christian Fulton's in a funk. He's just going to figure out a way to play better. Although he did say he considered benching Fulton at one point. You might want to consider doing that. I mean, I know people will ask, well, who else do you have? I mean, I would take a look at Roger McCreary. Maybe put him outside. Molden inside. You got Dane Crookshank. So you got a third, maybe a fourth safety. So maybe you need to make some changes. I mean, I think Roger McCreary on the outside, even though I know he is better suited for the slot, at least with Roger McCreary, he's gonna give you some fight. He's gonna at least give some fight, where Christian Fulton will not. So that's kind of where I'm leaning towards, but we won't know until changes are made. Now, Kyle Phillips did return. He did not really have much of any impact on the game. It was good to see Skoronski back in there. The offensive line, for the most part, was okay. Not terrible, not great, but not terrible either. Nick Folk continues to be absolute money. And you need that. But now the Titans are in a pretty bad spot. You're 2-3. If you had won this game and been 3-2, the trip to London more likely is house money. It wouldn't have mattered what would happen because you'd be going into the bye at 3-3, which is pretty much worst case scenario. That's where you want to be. If you want to say there's a floor, that would have been the floor, is 3-3. If you go into this bye week at 2-4, if you lose this game to the Ravens, and I'm not really feeling good about our chances, given that the Ravens are already in London getting ready for this game, and they're, get used to the time change and things like that. The Titans are saying, we're going to wait and go on Thursday. That ain't enough time. And so I'm not really big on that. And so they're saying, and the Titans are not leaving till Thursday night. So I don't know if that's going to help or not, but we'll find out on Sunday morning. But I don't like our chances. Now, tomorrow night, we're going to talk about a star of the week and dunce of the day, because there are definitely some for both. Because defensively, the defense I am slightly worried about, more so with Christian Fulton and Azeez Al-Shire more than I am the defensive line. I think the defensive line and the run defense will be fine at the end of the day. But there are a lot of problems the Titans are creating for themselves and showing themselves to not be that good of a football team, and that they could be better than what they are, and they're just not showing it. This loss was a bad loss for a lot of different reasons. One, you had a great chance to take control of the AFC South and you failed. You had a chance to really put yourself in great position. With every other team having at least one loss, you could have put the Colts in a 2-loss hole in the AFC South. You really could have possibly eliminated them altogether in a very small way. But instead, now they got hope. They believe they could be better than they actually expected to be. And you look like you're worse than you expected to be. So Titans got their work cut out for them. And I am not feeling really good about this. Definitely make sure y'all leave some comments below on how y'all are feeling about this game. The way I feel about this game is this. I feel humiliated. I feel humiliated because I put a little stock into this team when I probably shouldn't have. You know, I maybe had a false sense of faith that perhaps I believed in this team a little bit more than I should have. And the offense, I think, is starting to get better. Although the run game still needs work. But the defense is where I'm the most humiliated by. The defense is supposed to be the strength. We thought this defense had a chance to be elite. And they are anything but. Thought perhaps they could be somewhere middle of the pack. At least pass defense be somewhere middle of the pack with your top run defense. You can still do some damage. But right now, the Titans got to do some soul searching. And maybe a trip to London might can help them with that. Maybe it can help them with that. And we're going to definitely find out what this team is truly made of in London. If they find a way to win this game, and they get to 3-3, the Indy loss will still sting, but it won't be as bad. But if you go in to this bye week at 2-4, there's going to be a lot of problems. And there's going to be a lot of things that need to be changed during that bye week. That is going to be the longest 2 weeks in Mike Vrabel's history. Because questions are going to start coming up about, is it time to go to Malik or Will Levis? Is it going to be time to trade Fulton? Is it going to be time to trade Tannehill or Henry? Is it going to be time, could Mike Vrabel's hot seat be getting a little warmer? And I said it from the get-go. Rand Carthon, I understand they want collaboration, but Rand Carthon has got to put his foot down and be like, I'm the general manager of this team. I'm not finna let you sink our ship, Mike Vrabel. Either you get this fixed or I'm going to go another route. And I've been saying it for the longest. We need an offensive-minded head coach. We need an offensive-minded head coach. Offense is more important than defense in a lot of ways. Defensive coordinators aren't really going to get the big jobs unless you just have the most dominant defense ever. Then yeah, you might get that look. It's easier I think it may be easier to replace a defensive coordinator than an offensive coordinator. Because a lot of defenses are very similar. 3-4, 4-3, some play a little bit of both. Some like to play the zone blitz, man zone. Yeah. Offensively, there are so many different ways you could go. There's, run and shoot, West Coast, power run, zone scheme. There are so many different ways you could go. And now, I might be wrong on that. And I know there's a lot of people that's like, Chris, why are you always trying to throw Vrabel out the door? Because Vrabel is an arrogant son of a bitch prick who acts like he knows everything. And then when you lose, all he wants to keep saying is the same old bull crap. We got to play better, got to coach better, got to do better. And the question is Vrabel really starting to lose this team? Because that message is getting old. It's tired. Y'all know this as well as I do. And for those of you that acting like you don't know this, you're blind. And I know there's a lot of people that say, well, why are you being so down on the Titans? You're supposed to be a real fan through and through. A real fan also knows when to admit, you know what, my team is just not that good. My team really sucks. I love them, but they suck. A real fan, like myself, will praise the team when they win. And if there's a need to criticize, I will criticize. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And I've told y'all 100 times before, if you're looking for a rah-rah fan boy that's always going to act like, the Titans, they're still good. They're still great. When you know they're not, this ain't the show for you. We gonna tell the truth on this show. And my truth may not always be right, but I'm going to give you honest, concise thoughts and opinions and bring some facts behind it. So the Tennessee Titans need to clean up their act, and they need to clean it up fast. Run defense, I think, has a better chance to clean its act up. I think what happened Sunday was an anomaly, and I don't think the Titans' run defense is ever going to look like that again. Christian Fulton, he's got to go. Because this secondary is not very good. Kevin Byard included. As much as I love the mayor of Murfreesboro, but he is a part of that secondary too. Hopefully Big Jeff is not hurt worse than it showed on Sunday. And I really do hope, Tannehill just say, I'm giving the ball to Hopkins. I'm throwing the D-Hop. And I'm going to keep throwing to him until the other team stops it. That's what I would do. Go back to that because it worked. I'm not depending on Nick Westbrook-Aquino or Chris Moore or Kyle Phillips or whoever else because they're unproven. Chig is starting to piss me off too because he's starting to drop passes he ain't got no business dropping. And the offensive line, they're going to get tested by this Ravens defense. And we're going to see. This could be Andre Dillard's very last chance right here. So we're definitely going to find that out. But extremely disappointing loss on this. I saw quite a few Titan fans were there. A lot of Titan fans were there. I know it's disappointing. I know this hurts. I'm hurting too. But we got to get ready to march on to jolly old London, y'all. Because, chaps, we got a game to get ready for. So, Tennessee Titans fall 23-16. We're going to definitely talk. We're going to close the book on that and get ready for our trip to London on tomorrow. We're going to prepare for that. And we're going to talk Ravens, Titans, and everything. So make sure y'all tune into the show. Also, make sure y'all stay tuned for the Truth League Report. We're going to recap a lot of games that happened in Week 5. And also my top ballers. And I'm a little upset for my fantasy team. And we're going to definitely talk about that. Thank y'all for tuning into the show. And tighten up. That's all we know how to do.